fine. Last year we had a positive win record against G2.
Maybe it's the time where like Rogue gets suddenly activated, you know, just because it's G2.
Yeah, I mean Rogue is the counter to G2.
I'm ulting here, I'm ulting here.
Okay, I'm tipping mid.
I'm just running out.
Nice.
Let me block. Kill Braum, can we kill? Yeah. Looks good. Oh, looks good. Corki. Chase, can you take it over? Can you push him out? Yeah. Chill out.
Welcome back to ADC, everyone. I'm Ginny standing by with Skewmond from G2 in the Marriott Bonvoy post-game check-in. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Another win, so 4-0 if we don't count the content week, which was week 1.
Yeah.
It's been ramping up a lot from G2. We're seeing a lot more when it comes in terms of cohesion. We're seeing a little bit of funny picks. How does it feel being back in like the leaderboard?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels pretty good. I think we are slowly getting good games, and I think we are having a pretty good showing. I mean, in this game, I think our early was a bit suspicious. I got baited by my top player saying Maokai had no flash, and I died afterwards. But besides that, I think we are showing some good stuff and slowly surely getting there.
It seems like the communication then as well has been going really good. You're talking about, you know, setting up that synergy with the top laner.
Yeah.
Shogat. Let's talk about the Shogat actually, because that was a big boy.
Yeah, I mean, without saying too much, I think that we've practiced many pocket picks, and I think that we just saw the angle, and obviously Shogat historically is a good counter to Jayce, and I mean, he was really big in the end, and I think even though the early game, as I said, was a bit tough, I think he had so much impact in the team fights, taking a lot of Maokai ults and having always the ult to secure objectives as well, which is really good.
He's doing his job as a tank. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I want to talk to you as well because, you know, you are a new face on this G2 roster, and of course there's a lot of pressure on you. And then you're looking at week 1 and it didn't necessarily go the way that you planned. It was a 0-3 week. So how do you, as a new player on a team with such prestige, have had the ability to like mentally reset?
I mean, definitely the week 1 individually and as a team was a bit rough. We lost a bit of confidence, even me. And as you said, it's not an easy job to just come and join the new G2 when they won everything last year. It's for sure a lot of pressure. But with also our coach, Isma, our performance coach, he helps me a lot during these hard times. And I think we are doing a pretty good work. And I think that I'm feeling better playing on stage. And I don't really feel that pressure compared to the first week.
That's really good to hear. It sounds like that mental reset has worked for you guys. I mean, we're seeing it on the score as well. If you had to name one player in your team that did really well, who would it be? Don't look at that. Close your eyes.
I think that both Hans and Caps had pretty good games. Like, to be fair, BB, Laure and me had a bit of oopsies in the early game, and I think they played pretty disciplined, and they played their champs like pretty well. Like on side and on team fights, Caps and Hans were doing magic. So probably one of them.
It's no oopsies, it's just happy accidents, right? But the Kia player of the game is going to be Caps. Surprise, who would have thought? But that is all from us here on this side. We're going to be heading over to the analyst desk with Laure, so please do take it away.
Thank you, Ginny. Less pressure, more Ws. Caps is still Caps. Nothing is new here on the side of G2, but I want to talk about Rogue here and the expectations we had coming in the day. We knew that it was going to be a tough matchup for them, of course, against G2, but quoting you guys during the meeting we had earlier this week, Rogue don't pull the trigger when they need to, and I do feel like it was the case here again.
I mean, she's bringing out the receipts. I do feel like the early game was good, and
They did pull the trigger,
They did, yes, but was that the main problem we had with Rogue? Because I feel like our main problem was later on, but let's start with the early game. Let's start with Myrwn, because he was incredibly influential in getting them the early lead.
Exactly, and coming from a poor split in Brazil where he didn't really start off well, he even got benched, if I remember correctly. He was my big question mark on this Rogue lineup, if he's still going to rise up to the occasion. And I feel like throughout this whole split, he's been pulling them up, getting them leads in the game, and I feel like this early game and transition into mid has been nothing but exceptional for Myrwn, but he just fell apart.
I mean, Skewmond said it. There was a couple of oopsies as well. I think BB, had to use his flash early, and then he was kind of caught. Well, not really caught. There's not much you can do in a side lane as a choker against a Jayce when Maokai's coming by with no flash.
Well, you're just a potato. The thing is, I mean, it's true. Every time the wave is bad for you, that's why I sucked at the champion. And it's, I mean,
We didn't say it, you did.
I mean, I was really awful at that champion, and I still am. But the thing is you don't have any sort of mobility. Every time the wave is bad, enemy jungler is coming to collect the 6th or 7th jungle camp, and you're just a little snack.
Absolutely. And I mean, it looked dire, but G2 did manage to come back.
How?
And yeah, I mean, it was because Rogue was in a position.
How,
well, we have some clips for it here as well.
All right, let's roll them.
Because Rogue was in a position where they quite often got these kills, but it didn't lead to anything, right? In this instance, it looks like Labrov is getting caught off guard. Rogue is going to look for the... He is getting caught, you're very right about that. But Larsen has to hover, and while he's doing that, what's happening, Odo?
If we can pause the clip right here, the problem is that after this, Rogue has tempo. They have all the choices, and they just make the poor choice. Larsen is covering here just in case there's a bigger fight happening. But now if you roll out the clip, this fight is going to disengage, and Rogue just tunnel visions on the Drake. They feel like they have 3 Drakes set up, and now what does Skewmond do? He goes into topside because they need to cross-map this Drake, and once this Herald drops, it's gonna be cap Show.
Yeah, and just like you mentioned, Odo, like Larsen forfeited that wave. That gave them the first turret. They still had Herald available to them. They get a second turret as well. So they, despite not finding the kills, they're finding all the standing gold. Skewmond also finding this Rift Herald into the mid lane where the turret was already
in the wall,
incredibly low. But does it matter, Odo? Because the Rift Herald will still continue, and it does get a second charge.
And overall, what's the conclusion of this? G2 got 3 towers, 4 a Drake, tempo on everyone on the team because Rogue needs to react and back off and just retake the map. And then all of a sudden, G2 gets a 2k gold swing out of thin air.
How do they get in situations like this, though? Because Adon gave a really sad, actually, interview to Armand Luke from Sheep Esports, where he was saying, this is not a level worthy of the LEC. We know the mistakes. We know the mistakes are really, really bad. So for me, they know what they're doing wrong. So what happens? How can they fix this?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're not looking for something. It's just they're not seeing the full play just yet. Because while this was happening, then they started hovering bot side because they see, well, we can take a free turret towards the bot side, caps his top side. Problem is they forget to take the Herald into the equation, and suddenly they just don't have the tempo to fight against people who are chasing down these turrets so easily.
And listen, it's super easy to figure out what's going wrong, right? You just look at the replay, you see, oh, we probably just went 2k gold down from this play, but it's a lot harder to implement the fixes because it's not just result-based analysis where, we should probably just react to this Herald next time, because League, there is a game where there's a lot of things changing all the time, and you need to find proper fail-safes, proper solutions, proper safety nets, especially in official games when you're really stressed and you can't think properly, and all of a sudden the enemy surprises you to a brand new situation that you've never been in. You need to know what to do, and this is the kind of processes that you need to implement in training that is a lot harder than just figuring out what the problem is.
And they better find these solutions ASAP, otherwise they're going to have a lot of time to figure out these solutions until spring. But we'll see Rogue against SK tomorrow. But for now, let's send it over to casters for Heretics versus Movistar KOI.
Yeah, thank you very much. Odo, I entirely agree with you. There's lots of fail-safes you have to build in, you have to think through all of these steps, or you can just blame the jungler and FF15. Those are the options.
I prefer blaming the support, personally.
Yeah, that's why we never play together. That and the fact you're Emerald?
Hey, I've taken a break from my season grind, okay?
Well, Rogue are about to take a break alongside SK as well, so...
A lot of that is going to determine on the results of this game. Heretics, if they win, will eliminate SK and will put Rogue in a very difficult position. So those at the bottom of the standings are big KOI fans right now. As we jump straight into draft, Zyra, Vi, and Kalista immediately taken away from KOI as Skarner, Maokai, and Varus are removed from Heretics. And without any hesitation, Heretics lock in the Corki.
We'll see where KOI want to go with their next couple of locks. Myrwn has been having a whale of a time on the Ambessa in that top lane. Wonder if he will prioritize that. At the moment, it's a Cassio hover. I doubt that is going to be the pick. Instead, Ezreal seems to be the AD carry that we fall to after Varus and Corki are out of contention.
We look at other junglers like Vi, still very prevalent here in EU, and the Sejuani too. It just acts as a very solid front line. It's a great skirmish champion. It gives you good presence in the early game, and with some of these faster clear junglers taken out of the pool, especially with, I mean, Vi banned. Oh, the Nidalee going to be the direction instead from Elyoya.
Can EU Nidalee win again? It's won once today, Vedi. Can it do it again? Does Elyoya even, is it even EU Nidalee, or is it Spanish Nidalee?
Could just be that.
Like El Nidalee. I'm pretty sure she has a skin that's L something, doesn't she?
You know what? I don't know, because I've already tried to show you my Korean this morning and butchered that, and so I'm not going to butcher another language today.
Understandable. K'Sante is the lock for Heretics. They are rounding out where they've started off a composition that looks very standard so far. MKOI looking for a little bit more poke so far in their lineup. Heretics likely to pick their jungler here on 3. Could go towards mid as well if you want something like the Victor, which Kamiloo has played 4 times so far this split.
I mean, it would be a very standard draft. Interesting hover here. We've seen Sheo bring out the Lillia in the past, and it would match the clear speed of the Nidalee. Also gives you some decent skirmishing power as well. And it's going to be the lock-in. All right, so an AP threat suggests that the Corki could be considered into the mid lane as well here to diversify that mid-jungle damage spreads. The hover of the Ambessa is going to be the lock-in for Myrwn. 3 K'Sante games, now 4 Ambessa gains for him. A man that's been known for his diversity of champion pools has been a little bit restricted here in the Winter Split. But this does mean, of course, that supports now rise in priority. I wonder what approach KOI is going to take, given it looks like both sides have matched, assuming that this Corki is in the AD carry position. You could ban out supports to then lock in your first pick support if you wanted to. Things like the Rell and the Elyoya are right now big priority picks.
I don't know if that was a missed ban.
I mean, it's...
We'll see. We'll get there. Apparently it was a missed ban by MKOI, so they just didn't ban something on R4.
Ban something. Wow, okay. Maybe the Lillia threw them off and they weren't sure then what direction to go in.
Possibly.
But a small advantage gained for Heretics.
Will it be enough to overcome the MKOI giants that they've been so far? I think MKOI probably, I mean, they are definitely one of our best performing teams because they're sitting at the top of the table, but I think they've shown us a lot of good things so far. You talked a little bit about Myrwn's champion pool and the fact it's been relatively small so far this split. I actually don't mind it. I'm going to be honest, like, with Fearless on the horizon, giving away less information early on makes more sense to me, right? If you can just play K'Sante or Ambessa into K'Sante, then you're not really giving away your pocket Corki top or your Varus tops or any of those things. The Fiddlesticks perhaps can come back to the fore. Smolder, the next man here. Heretics can get rid of the Azir in the mid lane, which does make sense because Azir really stops Lillia from doing a lot of the things she wants to.
You and I did watch Jojo's Yone game together.
Yes.
And he didn't have the best Yone game. So we'll see. Oh, it's going to be banned away.
Well, that makes it easier for Jojo not to have a bad Yone game again.
It does. Yes, it does. Poke, I feel like, is the direction you'd be looking at for KOI. So things like Jayce immediately speaking to me.
Akali really isn't speaking to me, man.
No.
They just pick Braum and you're like, okay, good luck.
Jayce is going to be the pick. All right, so that makes more sense to me. AD mid paired up with the AP jungle. Of course, you're very limited in your crowd control right now. Rell looks like a big power pick for KOI alongside the Elyoya. Heretics could be looking for something similar themselves. They're very much lacking in the engaged department. The question is, where will this Corki be going? And with that hover, it suggests that it might be looking like it's a Corki mid with a Draven for Flakked. Now, I wish I could say it was a surprise. Most of the AD carries that have played in our league were originally Draven one-tricks.
Exactly.
Kazi, Han, Summer, Flakked joins the ranks of those. Very proficient on the champion, one of his favorites, and it's going to be paired alongside the Rell. So a very aggressive bot lane 2 versus 2, which gives the Heretics a very clear avenue to play through. MKOI going for the Ezreal Braum, much more defensive. You can clearly tell with such little engage, they're playing a difficult to execute composition that's very much about finding poke. They have the side lane threat of the Ambessa, paired up with the fact that you don't really have any CC in this composition. Like, yeah, you really kind of don't. Like,
public execution locks someone up for a second, Betty, and then you've got concussive blows.
Yeah, Braum's passive, sure, but
and
it is...
Nidalee heal gives us some attack speed, so you can get the concussive blows off quicker.
Let me tell you right now, Lillia loves compositions where there's very little lockdown.
Very happy. The only problem for Lillia here is Braum's shield, I believe, can intercept the projectiles of her ult. So if she is on the other side of Braum to where she's on, because it's a projectile, right? So
I mean, that does make sense.
You can stop the charge of it going through. And that's such a niche interaction that it shouldn't really be a problem.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard of it.
Let's get on into the game, though. We kind of built the stakes a little bit earlier on. We have a pause, so the stakes are going to fall through the floor. Apologies.
Hit us with the stakes.
Well, if Heretics win, SK are eliminated from playoff contention because Heretics would get to 3 wins. There would be tied at 3 wins as the lowest wins out of the remaining teams apart from SK and Rogue, and SK can't get to 3 wins because they're 0-7 and only have 2 games left.
Correct.
If MKOI win, they go up to 6-1, joining Fnatic up there. But what we haven't talked about a huge amount is when we get into playoffs, our top 2 teams are seeded on opposite sides of the bracket for the first match. So if you are first and second, Fnatic and MKOI for this example, they can't play each other in our first best of 3s.
Yes. Those are all factually correct
that's
statements.
the stakes.
Yeah.
But you want to get in the top 2 because then you don't have to play a really good team in your first best of 3.
Correct.
It's double elim, so you would still get another chance, but avoid the best teams.
Yeah, and for those that have followed our format, it is identical to the winter, summer, and spring of last year, and it's and we'll be moving not next week, the week after. Into
break week next week.
Yes, teams will be given an opportunity to prep ahead of the fearless best of 3s that they will be going into, and then our players will be a 3-week sprint to decide the Winter Split champion, and the winner will make their way to Korea to compete in the first stand competition.
First stand.
Yep, first stand. Going to be an exciting time. 3 international events this year. Now, as we jump onto the Rift, as you've highlighted, a lot of pressure. What I will say about Heretics is, to me, they've come across as a very green team. Right?
Okay.
You know, like, it does make sense when you do have 3 rookies joining the roster. And I think what's interesting about this team is that they've kind of made mistakes that you would expect of a rookie roster.
Sure.
But I think we've seen potential, which I think is a really exciting thing. Because with some teams, you sometimes see that, like, you don't really see what direction they're going in. They don't seem to have any clear identity. But I feel like Heretics is trying really hard to carve out that identity and figure out the direction that they want to go in. And they're finding brief moments of opportunity. And in this game, they've clearly said, you know what, Flakked, Stend, we're going to be playing around the spot side of the map. We're going to be looking to try and get Flakked ahead, play a traditional front to back, have Sheo creating some chaos with some of the priority that you do have in the early laning phase. That does mean that I wonder if KOI is thinking about the lane swap. Now, these deep wars that were invested by KOI, you can see them on your screen, highlighted, if I can find the right button. You can see this deep vision invested all the way in the lane to identify who is where and what is happening in the early game. And they're going to spot out this bot lane heading towards the top side of the map. So KOI have been able to successfully avoid what would have been a very difficult 2 versus 2. They should be able to get those safe lanes. And notice as well, Myrwn immediately moving towards the mid lane. When we saw these lane swaps happening at the World Championship, often you would have these shared lanes to get those shared experience and get that early level 2 to then threaten a potential dive on the bot side of the map. Myrwn and Jojo can utilize this pressure against Kamiloo to also give Elyoya the opportunity to set up for an invade, but given that Sheo is starting on the bot side of the map, it's not really going to be much to invade unless they set the sights on the top side, which I would be a little bit surprised by. But they've garnered all this information thanks to those early wars that were invested, and now Myrwn, he's about 2 minions off of getting that level 2, which puts him in a pretty comfortable spot. No real risk of getting dark.
Carlsen has been able to soak up XP underneath the tower down towards this bottom side. He's already level 2 and he's going to get his first minion of the game on the board as well. Elyoya is on his way. TP is possible for Kamiloo, but he's been chunked out a bit in that mid lane. It looks like a dive might be on the horizon. Big thing here.
Race to level 3 for Carlsen.
Can you Pathfinder out of the concussive blows? Avoid that CC. Here it comes. There's the Pathfinder. Still underneath the tower. Doesn't lock anyone up. Alvaro takes a couple of tower shots and the plate falls. Carlsen, 1 minion short of level 3, is going to hit it as that minion dies. He dashes forward, flashes away from the Winter's Bite. Once again, it's Elyoya tanking the tower. This time takes 2 shots. A perfect dive from MKOI. In the end, they have to burn a heal. And that's about it.
I mean, I will say Carlsen played that about as well as he could have. He was able to get level 3. He circumvents the Q from Alvaro by flashing over it. And, I mean, he couldn't have played that much better. He's also able to TP back in because the wave isn't so stacked that KOI can go for the redive. I mean, best case scenario, I feel, for Carlsen. KOI had to invest a lot of time. They didn't really commit many summoners, but it is first blood that is drawn for KOI. So, I mean, well played from both sides. Of course, the good news for Flakked is he's given a lot of free time up towards the top side of the map to just farm away. He even gets himself a plate. And now, Sheo has made his way top and has that XP advantage over Elyoya.
Stend looking for the engage on Myrwn, who does just use that Drake Hound step to dash his way away. Control ward will be cleared out. Stend does have a jungle advantage because, of course, he spent all the time that Elyoya was diving bot, just farming through his camps. Now gets over to that 28 farm mark, looking for perhaps a first reset. Just wants to keep clearing this wave. TP in from Myrwn to dodge Stend, Flakked, and Sheo. He is underneath the tower. They can get him down here. Already down to half HP. Unbreakable input Alvaro. Jojo on the wrong side of Kamiloo here. Jojo has to flash away. Kamiloo has a flash of his own. Elyoya looking to come in, but already Jojo is like a dodo dead. Kamiloo is going to get chased down. Elyoya lands the spear. Kamiloo will fall. Doesn't burn his summoner though.
I mean, a big outplay there from Kamiloo, getting the solo kill onto Jojo. I hope we get an opportunity to look back at that, because I feel like Jojo just made a poor assessment by going for an all-in that Kamiloo in the extended trade was able to get the better of. A nice confidence booster for him as Heretics set their sights on another dive top.
Jojo's pathing up towards this though, so this dive has to be rapid. Myrwn flashes away, Stend tanks up a tower shot. Jojo now on the wrong side of the rest of his teammates, but Myrwn able to farm up the wave. I say that, he's got 3 CS so far, but he's farmed this one, Vedi. And slowly catching back up. In the end, the dive dissuaded. Myrwn did have to burn that flash.
Myrwn still being put under a lot of pressure. You can see the farm discrepancy is pretty significant between the two top laners. We look back at this. Oh, Jojo, that was dodge medic. That Q nearly hit us. That was a big blunder there. If he'd hit that Q, that trade would have been a lot closer, but a bit of a misclick there means that Kamiloo ends up getting a solo kill in his favor, and you know he's happy to get the flash out from Elyoya, and he's happy to get that kill.
That's a shock to blast, I believe.
And it was. Now,
So, yeah,
Dragon and Grubs become the next priority objective. We turn our attention to the bot laners, as they often love to get involved in this early objective. Flakked making his way over, and you can see those stacks really starting to mount. 131 on the Draven to Stend, face checks.
Jump away early here. Another auto attack is enough for the concussive blows. Sheo trying to come in from the side as well. Sheo will pick up the honey fruit in the middle of the fight. Sheo trying to block for his support right now. Supa getting chased down by Flakked, who flashes across, and Supa flashes into the grub pit. Now, Supa, I don't think there's anywhere for you to go. Sheo takes the kill, dodges away from the Winter's Bite. Stend trying to come in to help his jungler, who'll flash the wall. Elyoya dashes across though. Watch out, he pierced Kamiloo! A double for Sheo. Elyoya down to 200 HP. Stend, he's a wing's breath away from dying. Gets into the bush, dodges away from the spear, dashes back in. Jojo takes him.
And somehow at the end of all that, it's KOI that get the grubs?
I mean, Elyoya might die to the grubs.
Oh!
Swell seed! It's wide. Jojo now shows towards the top side. He's got to catch the wave. Smite out from Elyoya. Doesn't have another smite, so Sheo will be able to get one drop of the 3.
Back.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. I mean, remember that fight started with Stend face-checking the brush and KOI looking to punish the support. Only level 3, a very squishy Rell in the early game. He survived that entire exchange as the attention was turned onto Flakked, who saw a very easy angle onto Supa, and I really felt like it was a bit of a misplay from the side of KOI, completely abandoning their AD carry. But Supa, demonstrating what he has done so far this split with fantastic mechanics, great patience, is able to buy enough time for his team to turn their attention back towards him, get that kill onto Flakked, and then the chaos really did ensue.
Yeah, Flakked didn't cash out either, importantly. Now down to 90 stacks on those Adoration. Carlsen is level 6 first between the two top laners. Alvaro on his way across. Carlsen puts a ward in, realizes, I don't really know where the enemy support or jungle are right now. Backs away as soon as he sees the approaching Alvaro.
But I do want to come back to that Super point, only because last year so many knew him for his comments around him claiming to be stronger than Death, right? And he became a figure that within the community, a lot of people would, I mean, highlight his mistakes and point at all of the things where he fell short. But I think so far this year, he has been a rock for this KOI roster. His consistency has been incredible to watch. And we turn our attention back to this play. As the collapse initially comes through on Stend, you can see the damage is good, and Supa crucially uses his E right in the face of Flakked. So Flakked wisely turns his attention. You can see the damage is good. He gets a bit of a... I think he got the heal back from Elyoya at the very clutch there, which keeps him alive. Either it was the heal from Alvaro, or it was the heal from Elyoya, but that buys him enough time to get into the Grub's pit. And then ultimately, he's able to buy enough time until Sheo ends up cleaning that kill up. Nice flash from him, and then, as we highlighted, a really nice turnaround there from Stend to allow Sheo to get another kill. And then Stend, I mean, he had nothing left. He did everything that he could, and it ends up being 1 for 2 in the Grubs trade.
Elyoya doing a good job to escape the Kamiloo Valkyrie in as well. I thought he was a goner there. For the moment, though, MKOI about 400 gold ahead. They did manage to pick up the Feat of Warfare, picked up the first 3 kills because Supa died a little bit later than Flakked died, so They are in an okay position in this early game. Gold leads for Carlsen and Sheo, who's 2-0 currently on this Lillia. Flakked caught out with the concussive blows. Doesn't have cleanse, only has the barrier. Whirling Death comes out, and he manages to get a kill on the clapback, but he died beforehand, so those adoration stacks fell off.
A nice play there from KOI to punish Flakked's no flash. But the fact that he was able to get a kill back there, impressive stuff as well. Ends up being a 1-for-1. Gold advantage in favor of Flakked, just because he's able to get that 175 gold cash out. The gold is pretty much even between the two AD carries, even though Supa does have that kill lead. This is what Draven making his way back towards mid. Supa level 7. Stun will connect, but I don't really think Flakked can convert this into much. Supports really struggling on the experience department here. The Grubs are going to be respawning in a minute's time. No dragon has fallen just yet, but I imagine Sheo is setting his sights on it right now, given that he has push in bot and in mid.
Sheo has fallen behind a little bit in terms of CS. He's been playing around with his team quite a lot, but Lillia at this point farms like an absolute storm. Leandri's already complete. You've got the movement speed as well from the blue Pokemon. Can't remember, it's Moss Stomper? No, something. As you go through the bushes. Gust Walker, that's the one. It gives you extra movement speed, really. So it's a Gust. We just call it Squirtle.
Don't know if you can, but
I can say it's Squirtle as long as it's not like saying directly it's Squirtle. You know, Elyoya though, onto Sheo. Put the sleep down. Sheo has to flash away from the Spit. Was about to make a connection with his rear. The Grub's up in 15 seconds time, and Sheo not very healthy for it. He's also just invested his ultimate on escaping Elyoya's clutches.
Has to be careful as Elyoya fishes for a spear but will not find one. And fortunately for KOI, getting the flash out from Sheo will give them advantage. Oh, they turn their attention onto Elyoya.
Elyoya has to flash, then pounce over the wall.
I like the aggression there from Stend. He doesn't have level 6 yet, but neither does Alvaro. It's a very awkward situation for both sides to be in. Supa making his way across, but his mana is relatively low. Kamiloo really wants to go and catch that top wave, so the numbers advantage in favor of KOI.
I don't mind this from Heretics, right? Go in, brute force one, and then accept the fact you're not going to have the mites, right? Like, you make sure that MKOI aren't stacking up towards those neutral feats of strength. Yes, they get 4, they will have mites, but they haven't had a lot of time with your towers, and 1 mite is nowhere near as powerful as having the full 6 grub buff.
What I will say that I like a lot about these fights is due to the limited crowd control that is largely on the side of KOI, but really you could argue for both sides. It makes these fights like very chaotic because it's not about just locking someone down, like one-shotting them and then moving on to the next target. It's a lot of dancing back and forth, a lot of skill expression with making sure you land those skill shots, being able to dodge at the right time, saving your flash for the right moment. Skirmishes are definitely very tense as we find ourselves at 4-5 on the kill board. Right now, Kamiloo is getting some much-needed protection, but keep your eyes on Supa, making his way up through the river. They've spotted the Draven out in mid. Numbers advantage in favor of KOI, and Kamiloo has to respect that. Stend now, finally getting level 6. Alvaro is still a little bit behind, as Flakked sets his sights on perhaps the tower. No, he doesn't want to overstay his welcome.
I think he just wants to make sure that Supa is losing minions here. Gonna land an axe on Supa, the Mystic Shot just going wide, and looking for perhaps an engage on Alvaro, but you know, 3 minions lost, 4 minions lost for Supa is a incremental advantage that Flakked can get behind. He's completed his Bloodthirster already. I think the next fight we're really going to see is around one of these neutral objectives ready. 3 minutes before the Rift Herald, 2 before we get that Ocean Drake. So perhaps it's a good time to talk about why Heretics winning this game would eliminate SK from the standings. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but actually with Rogue losing the last game, we have 2 more teams locked into our playoff spot, GiantX and G2. The standings not quite updated for the G2 victory yet. They are at 4-3. If Heretics win this, they'll get to 3 wins, which SK can't match. So SK would be entirely eliminated, and Rogue would need to win their final 2 games of the split if they are going to avoid, I was going to say relegation, but just avoid elimination from the winter season.
Yep. The struggles for SK and for Rogue really is that they still need to win their games to even be in contention of Heretics, to contest for that 8th place spot, which is really what these bottom teams are fighting for, to have a chance to compete in the playoffs. You have to remember that last year, KOI, formerly Mad Lions, made an impressive run in the playoffs, given that they did fall so short during the regular season. I mean, actually, it wasn't that close. It was the season finals where they ended up making the impressive run, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, all you need is that opportunity, and that's what these teams are looking for. Is the blue buff becomes the focus now for Heretics. Stolen away. Dragon up in 50 seconds as well. Kamiloo likely going to go back to bot lane. Supa trying to get what poke he can onto this bot lane. Oh, he goes in!
They're super dashing forward there. Alvaro on the front line. Glacial Fisher going out. Floating Lullaby is going to put Alvaro to sleep. Elyoya still putting the spears towards Heretics. Jojo TP'd in. Kamiloo is already in the middle of the fray. Stend goes in onto Supa, who cleanses, who flashes, but Flakked follows! Flakked picks up his enemy AD carry. TP coming in from the Cassante as Carlsen and Myrwn now look to join the Barney. The Drake's still the prize in both these teams' eyes, but for now, Heretics will back away and just get the mid prior.
Again, another chaotic fight where KOI just overstay their welcome. Stend proving so valuable in so many of these exchanges. The moment that you burn that crucial cooldown, he is looking for it, and he punishes Supa, gets both summoners out from him, and Flakked secures himself another kill. Now, an 840 gold lead in favor of his enemy AD carry counterpart. 5-5 in kills. Dragon has been completely abandoned by both sides.
Rifthold's better, Betty.
Certainly looks to be the case. We've only seen one Dragon kill so far in this game. Definitely low on the priority list. Stend investing his vision. Both AD carries opening up in the mid lane.
Picking up the petals as well. I was going to comment on this. Larson walked past like 5 petals last game, and it just frustrates me. It's free stuff. It's free gold, essentially, for your team. As Myrwn goes in with a public execution. Kamiloo still has the flash, will Valkyrie away, but now there's a lot of damage coming out from Myrwn. Flashes away from the Shadowing Strike. 2 shots! I think he would have just caught the tail of the Corki there, as Kamiloo does burn the flash in the end. Now MKOI with perfect setup around this Rifthold. Sheo could look for a Loating Lullaby though. Doesn't quite have it off cooldown yet. 20 seconds remain before it will be back up. Flakked trying to get mid-prior, wrestle it out of Jojo's hands. In the end, I think Heretics might accept that they shouldn't really play for this one, but they are TPing Kamiloo back in, so maybe they want a little bit more of the action.
They're too late though, they're way too late. Good
they are, Betty.
Comes out from KOI to
Can they fight
KOI.
afterwards?
I don't think KOI should. Like, ideally, once you've got the objective, you've leveraged the strength of your comp. But typically, the way that you do that is by chipping away at your enemy's health bar. Myrwn just said, I'm gonna slice you up and force you to go to base. Kamiloo was immediately forced to retreat, and now he has to be a lot worse. I mean, look at the damage coming out from Myrwn. He's lost his flash, and now a dive is on the horizon.
I think Kamiloo's about to be flushed, Freddy. Winter's Bite goes wide, the Rifthold tanks it up, Kamiloo goes in with the Valkyrie. Elyoya is tanking here, Stend's looking for him, can't quite connect. Now Stend's in the midst of MKOI, Whirling Death will come out, Myrwn locked up against the wall, tried to get in to the Rifthold, but it died as he made his attempt. In the end, 2 for 2, a tower as well for MKOI, and in the mid lane, Jojo continues to push in.
Good awareness there from Jojo, realizing that he could have gone towards the top side of the map, but it really wouldn't have changed that much. Instead, get yourself that extra objective, 2 towers secured for KOI. And you can see here that Kamiloo, he has no flash, so the Corki's bubble butt goes back to base as a nice re-engage once again comes in from Stend, locking up 2 members of KOI to allow for the rest of the team to follow up. The Draven doesn't get the kills there, but still, getting them onto Sheo is definitely not a bad situation to be in. 4-0-1 for this Lillia. The second major item almost completed, means that this Lillia is going to become a problem for KOI. As we talked about, the limited amount of crowd control will make it hard to lock this Lillia down.
Remember that Drake we fought over 3 minutes ago, Betty?
Yes, I do.
Well, it's still there if we want to go for it. Flakked has to get away from Jojo, who flashes forward. Flakked pops the barrier. Great knockback onto Stend. Flakked tries to turn it back around, but Jojo puts him in the ground. Kamiloo still diving forward, looking for the missiles. Public execution down towards the bottom side in Sheo. All that gold is all for naught as Sheo falls as well. Supa will have the arcane shift up in a second. Stend on the wrong side of the wall. Kamiloo and Carlsen now need to retreat. Supa dashes in. The phosphorus bomb is not met with a missile compatriot, and Supa will take another. MKOI just absolutely smashing the skirmish.
Just like that, they catch Heretics with their pants down. Unbelievable execution, as it's Jojo that flashes onto Flakked. The rest of his team is quick to follow up on that aggression, and I think that's one of the biggest strengths of this roster. They are unafraid and they are fast. Ooh, just barely, as KOI is able to secure themselves the dragon. And we look back at this play, look in the mid lane, Flakked isolated. doesn't have the support available. Jojo flashes in, gets the barrier out from him. Supa is right there with Jojo. They think they've overstepped their bounds. Alvaro turns his attention to try and assist as well. They get that initial kill. But now the fight is on two fronts. On the bottom side, it's Sheo that's left isolated. Both Elyoya and Myrwn lock him down. And now the fight has become too scattered in these skirmishes. KOI is able to come out ahead. And they're able to find 4 kills for 1.
Felt a little bit like Heretics skipping steps, right? Flakked playing for mid prior. You're already starting up the Drake with the Lillia and the Cassante. You don't actually have control around the mid lane, and Carlsen doesn't have control in the bot side as he was around his tower as it fell. Goes all out, looking for the damage onto Alvaro, but he's going to get stunned up even with a Q3. Carlsen will die for the second time this game. And MKOI so willing to pounce on these small mistakes from Heretics. And now looking for a tier 2 on the bottom lane. Jojo was slowed up. Losing Lullaby is going to come out. He's been put to sleep, and without a flash and without any way to escape, I think Flakked's going to be gifted this kill. He gets the shutdown. And that will be all for that in the bot lane.
So, a bit of an overextension there from KOI. But ultimately, I say more advantages gained. Not really. They just kind of got a kill. They moved into the enemy jungle. They tried to steal away some camps, and then they kind of overstayed and ended up just being a 1-for-1. Myrwn is pushing on the top side of the map. Artican is available, but no objective was really secured off the back of it, which means that we return rather to the neutral state. You can see a 2k gold lead in favor of KOI for the time being. This Ezreal securing those 2 items puts him at a very powerful spot. I'll still keep my eyes on Stend though. I feel like so far in this game he's been making a lot of hero plays. His initiations have been crucial to setting up Heretics to win out on these fights.
I 100% agree with you. I think Stend has a really tricky road to walk.
He certainly
does.
does.
Because if he jumps on Myrwn, Myrwn dashes away. If he jumps on Elyoya, Elyoya dashes away. If he jumps on Jojo, Jojo knocks him out of the air, as he did in that mid lane fight. If he jumps on Supa, Supa dashes away, and Alvaro just puts up the Unbreakable. So it is very much about, can he engage? And in the split second he is on top of someone, can his team follow up? We'll see if he looks for an engage in a second. Things like this are great. The swell seed into the engage. Jojo's already slowed up. It wasn't in the right form either, and that's exactly how Heretics can pounce.
The challenge of this comp for KOI is patience, because a single overstep will allow Heretics to lock you down and find a pick. But look at the aggression that we're seeing in response. KOI, knowing that they're a man down, are still getting in the face of Heretics and looking to challenge them for control over the river. Myrwn, he goes in.
Carlsen looking for something here.
Look at Stend.
So you see him, Stend. Stend getting onto the flank, shadowing strike, crashes down as well, but Alvaro stands beside his teammates and keeps Stend at bay. Alvaro now with the Unbreakable, able to survive at half HP, and Topher's missing Myrwn. And Carlsen dived in and couldn't find the connection. Carlsen dies for it, and MKOI on the front foot once again.
Heretics try really hard to force the fight, but KOI navigate it beautifully. They keep them at arm's length, they utilize the Unbreakable will to perfection, and now Jojo's back in the fray, and now it's them forcing the objective. It's now Heretics' job to walk into a 4 versus 5 fight.
Myrwn has the flank as well. No public execution for him. Kamiloo on that front line. Sheo has that lilting lullaby. Kamiloo already down to a third, and Myrwn immediately dives in to try and take out the enemy mid. He jumps onto Stend instead. True Shot Barrage will find its mark onto Stend. The Artican secured for MKOI. They almost pay for it with Elyoya's life, but they secure it. And now they have that false light for the next 150 seconds.
I mean, it's a frustrating situation for Heretics to find themselves in, because multiple times we've seen them punish the mistakes that KOI are making, which, again, it's a difficult comp to play when you're very much centered around poke, very much around creating pockets of vision where you can chip away your opponent's HP bar. It's easy to overstep and then get punished for it. But the aggression that KOI plays with, it was a 4 versus 5, and they were not playing like that was the situation they were in. They're very aware of what ultimates we use. They know the summoner spells, and they're playing within their limits. And it felt like multiple times in that river fight that they hadn't. You know, they've made a mistake. You're stretching too thin, like it's too much of an issue, and they still win out on the fight. And I think that's the biggest strength that we're seeing of this team. They're fast, they're aggressive, and it's why they're sitting at the top of our table.
Pulling Heretics around the map right now as well. Jojo's pushing in the top side. Supa secures the mid lane prio, and now he can team up with his compatriots down towards the bottom side. Flakked with a good sidestep there from the Winter's Bite and the Mystic Shot. Kamiloo trading with Jojo, but Jojo has a false life, Kamiloo. He doesn't even need a third of his first health bar to take you out.
Bit of revenge there for Jojo after what happened in the mid lane. Numbers advantage. No TP available for Jojo, but he can just start pushing in that top side. Looks like he's going to move into the enemy jungle. No wave really to play with. Maybe he's going to look to push out mid. Just a bit of a standstill right now between the two teams. Dragon is available, but KOI right now have no interest in it.
I really like the positioning from KOI generally, though, because what they're managing to do is split the fight. And Stend always has to think, if I engage on Elyoya and Alvaro towards the top side, Myrwn and Supa are free on the bottom side of the fight to engage on towards my backline. If I engage towards Myrwn, well, then Elyoya and Alvaro can just put damage down across the wall. It's really nice positioning to make it difficult for Heretics to actually find avenues to engage the fight. Carlsen, concussive blows is going to proc on him, but he's still Cassante. Glacial Fissure going down as well. Stend still looking for the engage, but once again, there's two pincers that he has to deal with. Flakked caught out by Myrwn. Stand aside will stop Myrwn getting the kill. Jojo going in for a little bit more, still has that false life. Elyoya dashing in now, down to a third HP, survives through the missile barrage coming out from Kamiloo. Jojo will withdraw. A tier 2 now in the bot side. MKOI's prize. They are 5 turrets to 1 up in a 5,000 gold lead.
An ambitious flash there from Jojo, but as you rightly said, not really punished for it. The Dragon is available, but at the end of the day, KOI got the 2 towers that they were looking for. They get an even greater gold advantage. They put even more pressure onto Heretics, who's very quickly losing control of this game.
It's all right, Vedi. We're at the window, okay? This is the Lillia window. You have 1 opportunity to do this per game. Seeker's Arm Guard, Flash, Q, Ult, Seeker's Arm Guard. And you just get a 5-man stun. The question is, will
that's
MKOI
what you just get, right?
Wait, but if you do it well, you can get a 10-man sleep. I've seen that happen on the world stage, Vedi, okay? The question is if MKOI are ever grouped up enough for him to do that, because I feel that's where we're at in this game. It's a Flash, Blooming Burst, Lillia Q, into a Lilting Lullaby, and then followed up by Stend. That's what you have to do, really, to get back into this game if you're Heretics.
Wombo combo is for sure much needed. Heretics set their sights on the mid lane. They've got top pushed in their favor. Baron is available. Dragon has been a very low priority. Supa ease in, gets punished for it. Elyoya sitting in a bush that is warded as the Dragon ends up going down. And basically this is just a game of poke. Can the poke even land? There's a little bit more that gets thrown onto Kamiloo. His mana relatively low as well. Flank comes in.
This is gorgeous. He is spotted on vision as he comes around the wall. Sheo looking for the swell seeds as well. Myrwn is below Kamiloo right now. Stend jumps over the wall, doesn't find a connection. The public execution, though, jumps onto Carlsen. Kamiloo trying to escape, but still doesn't have his flash up. Carlsen down as well. And Heretics, they look for the engage, but MKOI warded their flanks, and Stend could not find it.
A moment of hesitation for Stend. He couldn't quite decide which target he wanted to lock down. Heretics were not quick enough to adjust the game plan, and KOI, as they've done all game long, punish the indecision. They set their sights on the Baron. This is Heretics' last chance.
Sheo trying to get into the pit here. It's down to 5,000. Sheo caught up with the concussive blows, yet to be stunned. Still 3 procs needed on it. Walking around, all that extra movement speed from the Lillia, passive from the Gustwalker hatching, but he just can't get in towards the pit. Myrwn's done a great job in the last few fights of just being another pincer, you know, always positioning behind the team, getting flanks off, finding someone, positioning himself up towards the red buff area here to make sure that Sheo can't walk in unabetted, and now Flakked. I think Myrwn could have gone for a little bit more there if he wanted. Sheo was waiting around his Razor Beaks.
Look back at the fight, and again it was this moment. Notice just Stend moving up and down, indecisive as to who the target will be. Kamiloo a little bit separated alongside their top laner to follow up on that engage, and it's that right there that KOI look to punish. Heretics, they realize the situation is dire. It's a difficult engage to find. The poke is continuing to come through from the side of KOI, and it ends up falling apart. Baron secured. KOI, with a 5.6k gold lead, set their sights on the base of Heretics.
I know I keep talking about how hard it is for Stend to find engages in this situation, but it's because MKOI are playing the fight so well. Like, Supa is down towards the bottom side of it. Myrwn is flanking behind. Elyoya is looking for the side position. Myrwn is caught out here with the Lilting Lullaby. Goes back in with public execution. Just to avoid the CC, it seems, as Carlsen will shut him down. Supa now has to jump away with the Arcane Shift. Stend looking for the Shadowing Strike will get the stun, but Flakked now raining into this wall. Alvaro with the Unbreakable, and then Elyoya with the kill. Alvaro flashing away. Carlsen going forward. Elyoya's going to fall as well. And just as I praise MKOI for their team fighting, they get caught out a little bit. They lose 2. They're top in their jungle, and they only get Stend in response.
It showcases the fragility of this composition.
They're just going to go. They're just going to look for him. He dashes away with the Valkyrie. Now Alvaro, you step too far forward. Jojo's there as well. Okay. Maybe if the Winter's Bite hits, you can continue for that engage, but after that point, I think discretion is the better part of valor there, MKOI.
KOI is fast and aggressive. It is both a double-edged dagger, especially when playing a composition like this, and Heretics finally find an opportunity to pounce themselves. They get 4 kills, and I will say, if we get a replay of that, you've got to keep track of Flakked and how he utilizes the Draven to interrupt so many things there. That initial interrupt onto Myrwn to set up for the Q. He comes back in, knowing that there's not much that he can do. He dies. Supa ends up Eing. He's forced to flash very early, gets the E back up, and then Alvaro comes into a safety. But look at this E that's going to come through onto Elyoya. He tries to pounce in, interrupted, immediately gets converted into a kill. And then we turn our attention once again. You're going to see another E come through from Flakked as Alvaro tries to dive in to follow up. I think it's actually onto Jojo. Kamiloo oversteps here. Look,
I'm
keep
just
your
going to
eyes
say,
on Flakked.
everything missed. Just walk away, guys.
Nice knockback from Carlsen into the E from Flakked. Results in 4 kills. And yeah, that was a bad fight from KOI.
That end just feels like Yellow Star. He's just too damn tanky, man. How do I get him? But as you say, a double-edged sword. The aggression for MKOI. You can see the damage from Flakked in that fight. 7.5k. And now Heretics might feel they have a little bit of the impetus in this game. They're trying to gain the mid lane prio. Kamiloo pushed up with that gasoline gun. Supa doing the same, though. Clearing out these waves pretty quickly. Across the board, we're looking at about 3 items on our carries. 3 on Supa. 2.5 so far on Flakked. Needs to finish up that Executioners. Carlsen. Oh. Heretics starting to collapse. The public execution out. Myrwn will be on the right side of the wall here. Carlsen with the Pathmaker out. Dodges away from the Glacial Fissure as well. Both the top laners showing just how much mobility you can have in 2024. As you say, mid lane pushed out by Heretics, but there's no wave there for them to really do anything with. And MKOI have a wave in the top side to continue to push forward with.
Heretics in a very awkward spot right now, and it's so hard to get back. Elyoya lands the spear onto Flakked. The inhibitor is getting very low. Jojo can't afford to overstay here.
It's really good movement from MKOI. Pulling Heretics around the map. They won't get the inhibitor, but they do get the inhibitor tower. Stend takes another spear. He's down to a 3rd HP. Basically no magic resist on that Rell. Went for the Ionian Boots of Lucidity and then the Trailblazer, so very much lacking in magic resist. And Elyoya at 3 items with the Rabadons complete is a very prickly pair to try and pluck.
Dragon going to be started off. Kamiloo, I mean,
it's given, right?
They can do. They have no vision. It's far too hard to approach this composition blind. They use the blue trinket, but too late. The Baron will be the next objective. I felt like this game was going to be
over,
an easy one to close out for KOI, but due to their mishap on the top side of the map, we will go another round, and that's all Heretics are looking for. One more opportunity. Notice the Rylai's secured there for Sheo, holding onto that arm guard rather than upgrading it. We'd rather get that extra bit of utility.
Until you use it, what's the point,
yeah,
right? Like,
I mean, I agree. The 3rd item also finished for both mid and bot on the side of Heretics. This side, sorry, this composition is definitely something you can't afford to underestimate. It all comes down to the execution. We've talked extensively about the limited crowd control. On the side of KOI, Stend needs to find a good engage. It's not an easy thing to do.
We've all been there, Stend, it's fine.
Takes a bounce on the trampoline. That's a good time.
It's a perfectly adequately length jump, okay? It was perfectly long.
Good bounce, good bounce.
Carlsen going to jump in front of Stend here, as they do set up around the Baron. 20 seconds before it spawns. And the thing I think for MKOI is, if they play the fights like they played every fight apart from the last one, they should be fine. But Stend is looking for the flank here. Supa and Elyoya out of vision. Alvaro caught with a little bit of a slow. Myrwn looking for that flank of his own. I don't know if Stend spotted him there. No
so far,
pings.
not really any poke is landing. I mean, again, we see Heretics a little bit split up here.
Okay, there's some poke onto Sheo.
Good poke onto Sheo.
Alvaro puts down the Unbreakable. That can be big as well. Swells it across the wall.
Is coming through.
And Myrwn is just split pushing while all of this is happening. Heretics using 5 members to try and gain control, but Kamiloo's damage is starting to stick a little bit into Alvaro and Elyoya. Remember, Elyoya does have that heal. Recall's going to come out from Stend. With the wave pushed in the top side, Carlsen's going to be the one to answer that. Kamiloo here to make sure that MKOI don't freely get to start the Baron. Sheo going down towards the bottom side to clear out his red. Hasn't been spotted on any vision as far as I can see.
poke comps have been all the range around. What's the range?
I mean, they have been. Good one, Betty.
All the rage around the world, and you can see why. An obnoxious composition to play into. I'm waiting for the Soraka comps to start coming back into meta, but this is the tricky part. Kamiloo eats a spear, maybe he eats a shock blast, and now 50% HP. The call comes from KOI. Do you want to fight us when you have this HP? And often the answer is no. They want to go back to base. Maybe they expend the TP, which he does have. The red buff does help. Get a bit of extra healing with that buff sitting on top of you. But look at how much space KOI reclaim with their poke, making it difficult for Heretics to approach.
Sheo just looking for that singular swirl seed. If he lands it on Elyoya and Supa, if he lands it on a couple of the carries, you know he is just going to go. True Shot Barrage comes out. Doesn't really seem to do too much. The shielding coming out from Stend and Carlsen enough to eat through that damage. Stend now has a locket. He's down to half HP. Kamiloo gaining mid lane prio. Carlsen jumped on. Concussive blows one auto away from being procced onto him. Break up in a minute 30. MKOI. His battle lines drawn, public execution onto Flakked as he tries to escape, has already popped the barrier. Meanwhile, losing Lullaby on Jojo, but Alvaro is going to block him. Stend goes in onto Supa, he cleanses and dashes across the wall. Now Myrwn's on the back line, Stend diving in, Supa dashes in, but Flakked will be able to secure him. Elyoya's going to get him in response. Kamiloo now up towards the top side, trying to take down Jojo, and will manage to do so. Elyoya trying to escape as Sheo has buried the cat 6 feet under. Kamiloo still chasing forward here as the fight has come out on Heretics' terms.
It certainly has, Medic. Heretics, after holding the line, after weathering the harassment of poke that was coming out from KOI, are able to play the fight well. They're able to find 3 kills, and those are some long death timers, so they can turn their attention to the Baron.
Look to try and chip through that tier 2 in the mid lane as well. The Baron, their first target, will even out the gold between the two teams. Flakked up in 20 seconds would be a long time to wait to make sure that he gets the buff as well.
The fight happened on multiple fronts, and where my focus was on was between the AD carries. Flakked flashing after Supa, looking to try and kill him as quickly as possible, and then Elyoya getting the kill onto him. But I noticed that at the end of that fight, Sheo was largely untouched, and I have to come back to the question of how did they manage to deal with Sheo and this Lillia in the fight? When we get the replay, I want to track how he was able to just be a nuisance, because Myrwn diving onto the backline there, quite an ambitious engage.
It really was, and now Soul, the next objective for both these teams. It's up in 20 seconds. Obviously, Heretics have the Baron, the mid-wave, not in their favor right now. They're pushing through bot. Flakked, no sums. Supa the same. In fact, no flashes at all for anyone on MKOI. Myrwn looking for that flank position again, Vedi. Trying to get behind them, Stend down to half HP. The Dragon now spawning into the pit. As we said, would be Infernal Soul for MKOI, and Infernal with this poke would be absolutely devastating. Spears rain down, Stend dashes out, Myrwn still looking for that flank. Supa eats an axe, and that's a third of his HP already gone.
Look at the poke, Medic, it is just ruthless.
Carlsen trying to get back in, True Shot Barrage goes through him and through Flakked. Stend still looking for that flank position, Elyoya still on the Drake, it's 9,000 HP on it. Lilting Lullaby on Jojo. Also connects on Alvaro, he puts down the Glacial Fisher. Myrwn still trying to get him, but Kamiloo's keeping him at bay. The Drake's still aggroed, but it's still only at 9,000 HP. Stend so low at the moment. Supa gonna have to run. The Whirling Death is trying to chase him down. Public execution onto Kamiloo. Myrwn will go into the pit. Kamiloo is in fact the one who goes in. Stend in there, in the middle of the pit. It's secured by Heretics, and now the fight really begins. Alvaro and Jojo have to run because Sheo is on the chase, and that deer goes fast. Watch out, Eep! It's Sheo, and he's here to party. 2 more to Heretics. They get the Drake as well. A TP to the bot lane as Heretics, they're going to look to break open the base.
They might just look to end the game. They still have 4 members alive. They're able to dance around such a dangerous fight. And just like that, a single misstep from KOI, sieging onto Heretics' base, may well have cost them the game.
Kamiloo down for Myrwn though. The wave not cleared out. How long we got? 20 seconds, 16 on Elyoya.
Flakked's still alive.
It should be enough. Flakked has 4 items, and his Draven comes to the fore. What a hard-fought game from Heretics, as they will knock SK out of playoffs and take that step so much closer to top 8.
Look at the excitement on Flakked's face. A huge victory for him. This game was out of their control for so much of it, but a single fight was all they needed. A beautiful bounce back, a huge throw from the side of KOI. but Heretics should be happy with how they turned that game around.
Crazy game, crazy fighting. You can vote for one of them, one of the players from Heretics in your Kia player of the game. Vote Sheo, Flakked, or Stend are your options. I love that game. That was a lot of fun. But as you say, chaos across the rift. Every fight had 5 or 6 places that your eyes had to be drawn to. So credit to both these teams for giving us such a delight of League of Legends. You see as well, Flakked taking his time.
And it's
Draven bows when he pleases.
A great combination performance of both the rookies and the veterans. Stend finding so many great engages, Carlsen being that front line, and Sheo being a huge carry in the fights.
Let's go to a quick break. Afterwards, we'll have Giniro standing by with Flakked and Kamiloo.
He doesn't like that. Look at him, he's a good boy, but he don't like that.
Maybe we could play some A-rounds or something like that. I mean, this is map, right? New towers, new objectives.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
Wait, is he switching lanes?